Kelly. Welcome everyone to the Survival Guide. This is one of my favorite things because I get to stand up here and talk with the best of the best. We say it a lot, but to be in a room with producers like we have up here today is a treat. They open up their playbook. They do it for us on the dose. They do it for us in events like this. So take notes, record it. We're recording it as well, and use this. I mean, these are people that are doing this at the highest level possible, and for them to take the time to sit and answer questions and also to share is amazing. So I just want to give them all a round of applause before I invite them up here. So, down the list. Kenny Klaus, get up here. Kenny! And again, we are going to be talking specifically about their business, their pillars of what they're doing. So this is not like any other, wherever you want, choose your poison first. So, this is not like any other panel that we've done. This is not generic questions. These are specific to what they're doing day to day. Okay, next up, Neil Brooks. Get on up here, my man. I'm so jealous of this head of hair. It's just not even cool. It is cool, actually. Man. Okay, Steve Valentine. Welcome, my friend. Ben Arredando, I see you. Come on up, my man. Mr. Daniel Barraza. NMHT Hall of Fame. And the only amazing rock star woman on the panel tonight, Calza. Thank you. Last but definitely not least, he makes me laugh, Brian Keller. You're the man. Get up. Again, I want to thank everybody. This is an awesome panel. A lot of you. This is great. So the format is going to be, we're going to talk specifically, individually about every single one of you guys' businesses, what you're doing, the pillars to it. Before we get there, I kind of want to dive into to kind of set the stage tonight and ask the questions. So usually we kind of go left to right to left, whatever it is. So I'm going to ask the questions to start. If anybody has it, they want to start the questions, we can start from there. So first things first is, how did you actually pick your pillar? What made you get to, whether it be open houses, door knocking, online, how did you come to find and pick your pillar of your business? Does anyone want to start with that question? Or I'm just going with you.
Okay, well, I'll start, I guess. Hi, everybody. Okay, first of all, my name is Neil Brooks. I've been in real estate now for about 18 years. Came over to my home group about 3 months ago from HomeSmart. I was there about 8 years. I see some HomeSmart people here. Hello, everybody out there. My pillar of success, which really got me started in the business, was open houses. So I'm going to be talking about open houses today. If anybody has any questions and stuff on that, we'll get to that. But before I give the mic back to you, I wanted to have a shout out to all the women out there because today is International Women's Day. So let's hear it for the ladies. One thing that's always great about real estate is that women have been able to get to the highest levels of real estate without that glass ceiling that they've had in a lot of other businesses out there. So this is such a fantastic day to be doing something like this. All right, here you go.
Real quick though, before you pass on, what got you to open houses? What was the main thing that made the decision to open houses? Sorry.
Geez,
I gotta keep you on task.
Yeah, I know. They always got to keep me on task. That's one of my problems. I'm like, I'm all over the place all the time, right? I was poor. I was poor. When you get started in real estate, you have like zero money, right? I didn't have the money to go out and farm a territory. I had no money, no friends, and a poor family. So that's it.
What got you to your pillar, which is farming? That's your main, correct?
Yeah, so geographic farming since 2001 in a specific area consistently. Like I said, what got me there was getting into real estate. I was the FedEx guy for 13 years, and so I've shared that story a lot. the idea was when you worked for FedEx, when packages came down the belt, it wasn't like someone took one and then someone took one and someone took one. Everyone sorted it out by zip code or by area, and then you had route guys, and then you had what we call swing drivers, which were you had to fill in when someone was sick or on vacation. And what I quickly realized is when you were a swing driver, it sucked because you wouldn't deliver to the right spot, you didn't park in the right area, you didn't go to the right person. But when you were the regular driver, everyone knew you and loved you and you built rapport. So you became more systemized, you added more value to the client because you knew who to go get to sign, all of those things. And so when I started real estate, it was like, well, I still got to hunt and do all the work, but let's start just dominating an area and hopefully look up in 10 years and still be there and then have a business. And so from a productivity standpoint, efficiency and a value to the client, to truly be a neighborhood expert was really the vision from running my realtor route, I call it, which is FedEx days. So
I love it. I love it. And clearly, it's worked out perfectly.
it's doing, yeah, it's doing okay. It's doing okay. We're trying.
You did us a mistake. Yeah. Pass on down the line.
Kenny used to deliver FedEx packages to his parents' house. My Pillars investments, the way I came to it was out of sheer pain. My dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer 3.5 years ago, and am I allowed to swear?
Whatever you want, man. Throw other words.
Anyway, it came out of pain because I watched my dad work the last 5 years of his life building multi-million-dollar portfolios for the biggest asshole I ever met. And when I had to take it over and work with this man, I just refused to never build wealth for somebody else before I did it for myself, because that's what my dad did. And so when he passed, that was kind of our vow, and so we just restructured everything that we were doing, and we were going to go into the investment game and into, we don't call it flipping, we call it repurposing. I watched everything that was going on the last 9 months that my dad was going through chemo, and I had to make a choice to change because my dad never invested in real estate. He was genius for everybody else, but he never did it for himself, so I refused to do that and repeat that cycle. So it was my turn to break that generational cycle when it came down to real estate.
My name is Ben Arredando. I'm also with my home group. My main pillar, I guess, now is the telephones, prospecting. And I know everyone don't like the phones. I get it. We're the hated agents out there. The reason I got into this is I had grown a reasonably successful real estate business just doing referrals. But I couldn't quite break that barrier. And I sat on a panel just like, or I attended a panel just like this. There were some guys on stage that were doing some really big numbers, and I was just thinking to myself, what's the quickest way that I can go from 30 deals a month or 30 deals a year to 100? And to me, the phones made sense. It was just the quickest way that I could make money right now. And so I learned my scripts, my dialogues. I then hired on an ISA team, trained them with the same scripts and dialogues, and now it's just a game of numbers. So we know how many people we have to talk to get X amount of contacts and nurtures, and we know it's going to equate in a certain amount of transactions every month. So
We're all on the machine.
that's it.
I'm Barraza. My main pillar of business is my database and Sphere. And that's the reason why I got into real estate, was because of my database and Sphere. And it wasn't that I woke up one day and said, I think I'm going to be a realtor. I didn't want to be a realtor. It's that my database and Sphere was, pretty much knocking on my door saying, we need to give you some business. And it wasn't like lucrative business. It wasn't like luxury listings or anything like that. It was short sales. Nobody wanted them. And I said, I'm not a realtor. You need to find a realtor to do your short sales. And the people in my database were saying, well, the realtor that I know doesn't like to do short sales. And you helped me with my loan modification, and I don't want my house anymore, so I want out. Short sales the only way out, where it establishes my credit at least a little bit. And I need to do a short sale, and you're the guy, and we trust, and we want you to do it. So pretty much it was a lot of people in my database and Sphere that was reaching out to me to help them out with the short sales in 2011, and that's the reason why I got my license, and that's the reason why today that's still my biggest pillar of business, is the same database, same people that short sell 2011, 12, and 13 are now buying 2015, 16, and 17.
So I'm I was really concerned I was just going to start cussing on the stage, and everyone would look at me like I was insane. So I want to preface this by saying I didn't get my license until January of 2016. I was an admin on a team, like an assistant, kind of showing some houses and doing transaction coordination, and it ended up not being a fit. I wanted, bigger, I wanted better, and I wanted to build something myself. So I left that team in September of 2016, and by November of 2016, I was getting closings, and last year I closed 58 ends. So I grew very quickly, and the way that I did that is through Facebook and social media. What brought me to Facebook and social media is honestly because I never thought of myself as a very likable person. And as many of you know, social media is kind of like a security blanket. I wasn't super confident being in front of people. I was not confident being on the phone, and so that's what brought me to using Facebook to build my business.
Awesome.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Brian Keller. I'm here to talk about door knocking. I woke up actually deciding I wanted to be a door knocker. And been selling real estate almost 6 years, and when I started real estate, I left 4 sources of income. I have 2 kids and a wife. I had to do something, so I just decided I'm going to try everything and see what was working. And so that's what I did. It's not something that I particularly enjoyed when I started doing it, but it's something that I had to do because I didn't want my little well that I had already had a little bit of money when I got into real estate. And I'm talking a little bit of money. It really was a little bit of money. Now, I wasn't going to go homeless, but I didn't have a lot, so I had to go out and do something. Door knocking, it worked. The phones to me were really heavy, so I didn't want to cold call. I was more of a face-to-face type person, and that's what I do.
Hands down the best at it too. I mean, this guy just show him a $4.1 million listing, he'll door knock it and get it. It's crazy. It's awesome. So, I'm going to go over everybody again, their name and what their pillar is, so that everybody can write it down, or just make sure you know what it is. These are like I hate saying these are basic things, but they are. What everybody's doing here, everyone in the room can do. And it's not rocket science. The hard part with this is the commitment, and also the perseverance and the consistency with it. Consistency and commitment are 2 things that are the 2 C's. They're very difficult to stay with because they are, like Brian said, it's not the most glamorous thing to go knock on someone's door. But look what it's done for him and his business and his family. It's changed his life. Julie's been in the business since 2016. And what she's done is changed her family life. I can go all the way down the line. Daniel, Ben, with Kenny, with Steve, and with Neil. Everything they're doing, you guys all have in your resources, in your toolbox to do. So listen up. This is important stuff. So just to go through again, Kenny is the master farmer. Neil Brooks, master open houses. Steve Valentine, investments. Ben Arredando, phones, scripts, overcoming objections. Daniel Barraza, his spheres of influence and database. Julie Calza, social media, follow-up, and nurturing. And then Brian Keller, the door knocking master. So, all right, I'm going to start with Neil Brooks. We are going to discuss specifically certain things within your bill. So questions that we have.
Okay,
So, a lot of questions that a lot of things as a new agent or even an existing agent that we haven't been doing, or maybe we didn't do open houses. Maybe we're fresh to it. Maybe when we started, it wasn't a path that we took. So what do you do purposefully to prepare for an open house so that you can absolutely do it the best way, so the 4 to 6 hours that you spend on that Saturday or Sunday or whatever weekday away from your family, you're making sure you maximize your time there.
That's right.
Okay, can everybody hear me there in the back?
They got you.
All right, you guys hear me good? All right. Yeah, you got to plan your open houses at least a week in advance, okay? You don't just do it like on Thursday, and I got an open weekend, I think I'll do an open house, there's no game or anything like that. You have to make a commitment to yourself. And you have to make a commitment to your business. And you have to do these open houses consistently. You have to, what was the question? Because I always get No, what was the question? The question was, how do you prepare yourself? How do you properly prepare? Do it a week in advance, number one, right? Week in advance. And then you're gonna wanna pick the right house. That's what's super important. You wanna pick the right house, okay? How many turns do you think you wanna do to get to that house? 4. That's right. You want 4 turns, right? You want a house that's gonna be in the right price range, preferably something that's vacant and staged, right? How many people out there wanna go sit a luxury listing? Okay, sorry, I fooled all you guys. Don't sit luxury listings. It's a waste of time. No, I shouldn't say that. You wanna sit, okay, most of the homes, or most of the loans right now, where's our VIP person? Okay, what is the average loan that you're doing now? 90% of the loans are what price range?
250 to 300,000.
There you go. 250 to 300,000. Those are the homes you want to sit, guys. You don't want to sit those big fancy homes. That's 1/2 of 1% of the market. You want to sit where 90% of the people are buying the houses. So plan it a week in advance, something that's no more than 4 turns. Try and have it vacant and staged and looking good.
Great answer. Great answer. You know, it's funny. Go ahead if you have a question.
How often do you sell the house you're actually sitting open?
Okay. The question was, how often do you actually sell the house that you're sitting? Almost never. Right? But what is that open house all about? It's a platform for you. It's a platform for you to expose yourself to the community.
Well said. You know, and it's funny because, again, these are things we're talking about that are basic, but sometimes it just, if you don't know, we don't know to do it. And I remember when Jeremy and I first started, we were trying to figure out open house. It was the same thing. Oh, it's Thursday. We're not going out this weekend. Let's scramble up some weird signs and go out there and do it. You know? Like a Remax sign, a Keller Waves, and all the different signs out there. But we did what we had to do, and it worked. So, you know, but the point is you get out there, you do what you say. Sherry, go ahead.
What are there particular hours you set during the week? Is there like if you do set 1 to 4, you set 10 to 2? How do you
Specific hours for the open house.
Yeah. Specific hours for the open house, it depends on the area of town you're in, but in general, Sunday 1 to 4. We've already trained the people out there, the community knows, Sunday 1 to 4. Make sure that you're posting it on all of the real estate platforms like Zillow, Realtor.com, and all that kind of stuff. You'd be surprised how many people do that. This young lady over here who's into the social media and she's taking control of social media, you know how many people are reacting to that, right? And that's where all the buyers are right now. They're her age. So that's what we got to be doing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Moving on to Kenny. So, you know, everyone here is farming, and if you're brand new in the business, or even, you know, for me, after a couple of years, I was like, what's all this farming talk? You know, like, it's what it is. We're planting seeds. We are putting out, whether it be mailers, social media, however it is, you're implanting yourself into a community. So I think that one of the questions a lot of people have is how often. So how often are you marketing your farm, and how many doors are there? So how often and how many doors are you marketing on a monthly or whatever it is?
You just said it.
Monthly.
Monthly, yeah, thanks. Well, I mean, monthly is our newsletter, so that's consistently every month. Full color newsletter goes out to every home in that area, EDDM, just saturated to every address in that geographic area. So the first farm we started was 1,700 homes in 2001, and our main farm now that encompasses that area is about 21,000. It goes out a month, and about just over 40,000 between the other additional zip codes that we do.
And to be more specific with that question too, because it is kind of broad, right? So it's on a monthly basis. So beyond newsletters or every EDDM, which is every door direct mailers, is there anything additional to that? And how for somebody that's brand new, how many homes or doors would you tell them to start with? Because obviously even 1,700 could be quite the amount to bite off on a new agent that has a budget they're living in. So can you kind of touch on how you kind of determined how many doors as a newer agent, and then in addition to every door direct, what else are you delivering on a monthly basis to them?
Yeah, that's a lot in that one. So funny, we actually have a program for that, clme.com. I just throw that out there because that way you can always check that out later. Basically, we took our whole farming program and put it into our self-proclaimed designation, certified local market expert. The reason being is that we do get a lot of the questions of what we've done, and sometimes it's hard in one answer to really explain the depth of what we've done and how and why. And the interesting thing for us is that when I sit up here and tell you what we're doing, it's not what we used to do or I heard was done or it could be done. It's what we're currently doing and have been doing, and we're still in the trenches doing a lot of it. So, but for us, again, the monthly piece, we started with 1,700 homes. The question always comes is, how do we farm, where do we farm? And when I picked my first one, it's where I moved to, and statistically it would not have been a business decision currently I would have made, but thank goodness I did. And part of it was because, it's interesting sitting next to you in our history. It's funny when you mention that with your parents. I delivered to his parents for years, the Valentines in New Valley. That was my route, 7th Street, Thunderbird, Greenway area. And that's kind of how my vision started. I was the FedEx guy and I saw all these damn Valentine signs throughout the community. And then I delivered to them. And I just kept thinking,
I'm going to crush that guy.
I'm going. I can't say I didn't say that, but I didn't. But I guess the point would be, why go there, right? I mean, there's already competition there, so there's already a dominant agent. But you drive around, and as a FedEx guy, I wasn't really thinking real estate at the time, but their signs are all over the place. And I thought, and they live right here. Like, this is genius. I'm driving from Scottsdale all the way to there with my FedEx route and traffic and dealing with all that. And I thought, man, this would be great if I just had a neighborhood and if there's going to be 50 signs all the time, why not just have 20, 25 of those all the time? And it seems so simple. It's not, but it seems so simple at the time. And so that was really the lesson. When I teach, actually, I reference them, and because that's how it started. And so the things that we try to do in there is you always look for turnover rates, of course, like how often are the homes selling? So you mentioned luxury. Obviously, there's some guys that have some great niches in luxury.
Sure.
But for us, the turnover is so tough there, and a lot of people have friends and people in it. And I'm not in the market. I'm out in East Mesa. Like, I gained an hour coming out here today, so it's something great. The truth of it is it all starts with consistency. We already said it, but we could say that about anything in life. We could say that about your diet, your working out, your reading, your personal growth. I mean, anything that's consistent, you typically get results. The problem is there's quitting points along the way, and the majority of people will quit along the way because it's a microwave world. We want success today. We don't want to earn it. It's like the farmer saying, Lord, just give me crops this year, and I promise next year I'll nurture the field and I'll plant the seeds and I'll water it, I'll do everything, just give me a crop. It doesn't work that way. They have to go out and work hard. But what happens after that first year, they learn the process, they get more efficient. The second year, a little bit better, a little bigger harvest, they grow it faster. Pretty soon, they have a chance for expansion and they can take the farm next to them because they've learned and they've built. But going back to really the questions, I could talk about all this stuff for hours. I do actually. Just got back from Anaheim doing it for 3.5 hours. So, but I love it. It's built my business, and it's created opportunities for other people within our organization. And so it's been a great run, and it's not over. So, but I would say budget. So consistency, obviously, but budget then falls into place. So what can you afford to put into this, knowing that you may not have. You're probably gonna want me to pass the mic after I say this, but no return for 12 months.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 months if you're backing that up with door knocking and circle prospecting and really going deep in the farm, and that's your one thing, while out doing open houses and doing everything else to seed the farm, because it's nice to have food with your meals. So you have to work along the way and not just sit back and I sent a mailer, why aren't the calls coming in? Ironically, we got to that point where the calls were coming in so many a month that you almost start to lose focus of running the realtor route a little bit, which we don't, but you start to because it's like, hey, this is cool. You're getting 18 listings a month in the farm. This is great. But you realize that can change quick too. You have to be value-based, meaning what you're putting in your farm, the value that you're giving to that consumer. They notice it and they do see it. So budget is key. Like I had a $1,000 a month budget, so I had $12,000 I set aside and said I'm going to do this for 12 months. $1,000 a month, and that got me about the 1,700 homes. Now, You can do it for less than that today because EDDM, I didn't have that back then, and printing costs have come way down since 2001. So budget is key, turnover rates, average sales price. Do you live in the area? Do you know the area? Do you want to build a business in that area? Because one of the things I try to teach is agents to go from having a real estate job to actually owning a real estate business. When you geographically dominate and own that area. My financial planner tells me of all the realtors he works with, he feels like I'm probably the one that actually has a business to sell at the end of this if I decide to, or to pass on, versus just a database, which we know the value in that typically, because most of us maybe send a crappy email newsletter that we don't even read and then expect them to read it and use us again. So it's a lot of factors, but it's the budget, it's the turnover rates, it's do you like the area? Interestingly enough, my average sales price is like $265, so we're kind of in that sweet spot, but it's volume based. We have to do enough volume to compete. And then just staying consistent and keep looking for ways. So when you go into our farms now, of course I bought, 05, an office building in our farm, so we run out of it. We're in the center of the farm, our office now. We've got 3 wrapped vehicles, the moving truck. You go to the grocery store, there we are. You go to the games, there we are. The idea is you just keep taking market share as you can, or taking territory within, and you can get sponsorship to death. And then once you do one, it's like there's some underground that tells her they wrote a check, we'll get them. So you have to set a budget for that, and we teach that in the class too. We're through our our sponsorship budget for this year, and that we just let people down nicely. But I don't know, give me a lot, I can keep going, so you can tell me to
I'm gonna cut you off.
Yeah.
No, in a good way, because I don't usually put a hook, because I'm Captain Hook. A hook to the next time I come around to you is think about this, is when you wanted to give up when you started farming. You said it could take 12, because I think it's like 12 to 18 months, specifically. Think about that as when you wanted to give up. Steve, Valentine. So investments, I know that when we all get licensed, a lot of times it seems very attractive to be doing the fixes, doing the flips, trying to wholesale, and when you're first licensed, you're like, what does wholesale mean? Like, we don't even understand it. So a guy like Steve is entrenched in it daily. He grew up with it around, like you said, your dad built wealth for others, and now Steve is building beyond wealth for him and his family, and he's sharing with the community. He came on the dose recently and shared his plan, what he's doing. So the first question, is as simple as it sounds, is what are you really doing to find investors? How do you do it? And how are you providing the value to them when you do find them?
Okay. It's really about, so we created a program about a year ago that we're still developing, and it's a wealth building program. So everybody wants to invest in real estate. Nobody really knows how. When it comes down to it. And there's no strategy for it. Everything online is talking about flipping and wholesaling, and nobody knows what all that is. And so we started looking at it from the standpoint, you heard me kind of condemn the investor that my dad made all the money for earlier. Well, again, another thing that came from pain is I will create my own investors with my expectations, not theirs. Every time we get a seminar that comes to town from Andrew Montalago, they go call 20 realtors and say, will you write 50 contracts a day for me because I want to buy something at 50 cents on the dollar. And they just paid this idiot $2,000 to tell him a bunch of hocus pocus. And so our goal was to go back to have an impact on our clients. Again, I learned from pain. So I wanted to teach my clients, especially my younger clients, that hey, we are not buying a home, you're buying an investment property, because every one of our clients is an investor, period. Whether they're investing in big real estate, small real estate, they're all investors. And if you can train them to have the investor mindset up front, you can convert them into your following, and you can also create more sales going down the road. For an example, we took, a home that we acquired that we literally, we bought it, the tenant moved out, and the young buyer that I was working with, 24 years old, and I sat down and had a consult with him. I said, you don't have any kids, you're not married, you're not engaged. You are going to rent from you for the next 12 months or until you have your reserves, and then you are going to go buy another house to rent from you while somebody else pays this one off, so that when you're 50, you have $2 to $3 million worth of free and clear real estate. So the impact is to change the lives of these people, and again, it comes back from pain, My dad didn't do it. So when my dad passed, he didn't leave a lot for my mom. So if I can help and impact the investors and get people to get out of the mindset that you're not nesting in this house. Look, it's a long-term investment. It's one of the greatest ways to create long-term wealth. So we create our investors through our own clients. You know, to really answer that question is getting people to understand that there's a number of ways you can do it. You know, it's one of the ways we funded our business over the last 2 years is some people want to invest in real estate, but they don't want to own it. But they'll be your private lender. You know, so we've gone through our client database and everybody's an investor. Either they're buying rentals and we're teaching them how to do it for long term, or they're lending us money because they know us, love us, trust us, which gives us the ability to acquire homes, to repurpose, to change the market when it comes down to those pieces.
Thank you. And the value I take from that is, you know, unlike other investors, you're actually providing education to the investor and or new investor or even existing investor on how to do it properly and to create long-term wealth. So a great answer. Thank you. Ben, on to Ben. So phones, scripts, my gosh, I think everybody has an issue with overcoming objections. The phones are scary. You know, I feel like sometimes the phones can be more scary than an in-person conversation. Because you immediately pick up the phone and you're like, they're gonna say no. Like, it's just that they're gonna say no. I know they're gonna say no, they're gonna tell me no, but whatever, who cares? They can say no 15 times, 30 times that night, and that one person says yes and it's worth your time. So the question I have is, it's again basic, is how many calls a week, not just you, is your team making? So if you could put it into perspective, is how many calls a week that you're making that it takes to set an appointment, buyer or seller?
So the phones, yeah. The reason we got into this originally was because it was the quickest way that we could talk to the most people. Door knocking. I mean, once again, it's amazing. You have all these people up here, and there's all these different ways that work. And so I think there's a model up here that will work for you. And for me, it just happened to be the phones. It was because I could talk to a lot of people in a really short amount of time. So when I started, I committed 2 hours a day on the phone. And in that time, so most of my agents now, and I'm blessed finally, because like you said, no one loves the phones, right? It was just a way for me to build my business really quickly. So I still focus on referrals, repeat business, and that's generally who my personal clients are now, so I'm not spending as much time on the phone. But to build that up quickly, and all the agents on my team now, will typically spend 2 hours on the phone. So within 2 hours, they can probably make 150 dials or so. I pay more, 2 hours a day, correct. I pay more close attention to my ISAs because I'm actually cutting them a salary. And I know that they can make anywhere from 500 to 1,000 calls in a day, and this is using a dialer. And we know the numbers, so for us, when we're talking on the phone, it's very important that you're not talking about yourself and you're asking questions, right? Just like Steve was talking about, you gotta be adding value. And the only way you can add value to these clients and differentiate yourself is to truly care and ask the right questions to find out how you can do it. So it's very question-based, but we know if we talk throughout that prospecting time frame, in any given day, we should have about 13 contacts a day. Wait, is that? Let me see. 13 to 20 contacts a day. And for every, I'm trying to think, I knew you asked, we're going to ask this question, so I'm trying to get my numbers right.
Be, you know, estimated, but just.
No, I got my exact numbers. I looked before, so I got to get this right.
Good.
So for every, we consider when we're talking on the phone, we want to talk about, we want to find people that are likely to buy, sell, or invest in a property. And we consider that a nurture on our team. So we know that we have to talk to X amount of nurtures to get X amount of appointments to get X amount of closings. And so when we're talking on the phone, we can typically get 3 to 5 nurtures a day. And it takes about 13 nurtures to get an appointment. And we know from our appointments, we're going to get about 40% of those appointments signed. So you can kind of back the math up from there. The reason that we can call so many people in such a short amount of time is we use a dialer. So Mojo dialer is the dialer that we use. And you can call 1 people, 2 people, or 3 people at a time. We typically think that 1 to 2 is the best because you can have the most amount of conversations with those people. What was the rest of that question?
That was it.
And I think the phones, the reason they get such a bad rap is because it's always about cold calling. And while it's just a small part of it, I think it works really well with like what Kenny's talking about, building his farm. I had a conversation with him, I don't know, probably 4 years ago or so when I was kind of jumping into the phones, and he kind of persuaded me to do the farm. And looking back, I look both ways because it took so long to start that, but the business that he's been able to grow because he keeps giving and giving and giving is awesome. So I regret giving up on the farm that I started because I should have been doing both, right? Building my farm and being on the phones at the same time. So I would encourage you to have multiple pillars in your business and not rely on it.
How do you deal with the no call?
The no call. So we're not selling anything.
You're not selling anything.
We're not selling anything. We're asking people if they're interested in selling their house. Sometimes we have sellers that we've promised to call their neighbors, and so once again, we're just notifying them of a property for sale in their neighborhood. But that's typically why. You can also scrub if you are selling a specific product. You can scrub most of the list that you get through the do not call list.
So are they just completely random numbers?
No, it's a good question. Are we diving into that later?
Go
or should I
ahead.
do-
It's
Okay.
on the list, but go ahead, we might as well just touch on it briefly now.
So no, we're targeting people that we think are likely to make a move, and there's a couple different ways you can do that. Obviously, the for sale by owners, the cancel and expires, they've raised their hand and said, I want to sell my property.
Right.
So it's a definite pillar of our business that we consistently call every single day. The other people that you can call, there's predictive analytics out there, companies like Prospect Now will tell you people, they monitor data sources and can tell you people that are likely to make a move. So those would be areas that you might want to focus on, and telling them about market trends in their area, asking if they would like to get a property valuation on their property. The other things that you can call are, other things that are obvious, people that might want to make a move, people that have filed for divorce, probate situations. All those things are, there's companies out there willing to sell you that data, and if you're coming from a place of wanting to help people as opposed to just trying to get them when they might not be in their best place, I think you can create some long-term relationships that will maybe start as a cold call, but turn into a lot of referrals, and if you treat those people right, a good business.
If you guys have other questions, do write them down. We can do questions at the end as well. There's no problem asking, just so we can keep it going along. My takeaway from there is you can specifically measure your leads, your lead measures. So you know that you can make X amount of dials every single day to get X amount of nurtures that lead to X amount of appointments, and from there there's a percentage. So again, daunting task to do that and to call and call and call, but again, they're seeing the success from what they're doing, and you can measure every single week. You know that if you got bills to pay and you've got X amount of deals you have to close, you know by making X amount of dials, it's going to relate to X amount of deals. So it's easy to measure those things. So Mr. Daniel Barraza, my man, MHT Hall of Famer. Sphere of influence. Everyone, this has got to be a pillar regardless. Sphere of influence and database. We need to be adding to it every day and nurturing it. And Daniel is a master at this. Every year every month he's on the leaderboard. Every single month. And to be on the My Home Group leaderboard is impressive. The 25th person on the leaderboard is doing $1 million or more in production. So to be up there every single month and for so many years in a row is so impressive. And this guy, like I said, database, sphere of influence machine. So it's the question I think a lot of people ask too is how often? Is it 12 times, 26 times, 52 times? How many times a year are you touching your database? First question. And what content is the most important to give to them when you make those touches?
So on your database, I think there's 3 categories of your database. There's your overall database, and that's everybody who has ever reached out to you ever, either by site call, Zillow, open house, a referral, anyone who has ever contacted you about buying or selling, they are in your overall database. And then there's a second level, and that's everyone who has ever bought or sold with you. That's your second level of database. And then there's your third level of database, and those are your top clients and favorite people to do business with, or top referral sources. So those are 3 levels. The first level in my personal database is about 4,800 or so people that have ever contacted me at one point. You know, you're at a barbecue and your cousin's asking you, how's the market doing? Make sure you have their phone number and email and you add them to your database. So every day you want to grow your database, even if it's at least by one. The very first coaching session I had with you and Jeremy, we went to Vegas for a coaching session. We went for business.
We did. It was
business. It was all
literally
business.
business.
100% business. And we met with John Sheflack, and I'll never forget the first word that came out of his mouth was, every day grow your database and every day add value to it. Even if it's by one, you want to grow your database at least by one. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, why? If someone just called me to know, they just want to know the price of the house, well, I need your email. Well, I just want to know, I need your email if you want the price of the house. The idea behind it is you always want to grow your database, meaning the phone number, name, and email. And to your overall database of 4,800, I send them a cheesy email 4 times a year. So not that much, 4 times a year every 3 months. The open rate is really low, like 2 or 3%. But there's one email I send out every Cinco de Mayo, and it's the Mexican word of the day. That has like a 65 open rate, and it's the greatest thing. And it's always a funny email that, you know, Mexican word of the day, you know, let's talk about selling your house. And it's always that cheesy email that gets people to reply back. And out of that email, I got 2 listings already in the past 3 years. So the overall database, even if it's somebody that, you know, you put them in there, I never knew who they were, but I send my overall database 4 emails a year, and then they call me, or they email me back about the, you know, Mexican word of the day, and I ended up listing their house. Then there's your second level, which is everybody who has ever bought or sold with you. That list is about, last time I checked was December, it was about 365 people that have ever bought or sold with me. So that's, you want to reach out to them a little bit more. So that database, they probably hear from me at least once a month, either by a phone call, a text, an email, Facebook, or a happy hour, or a client event. They always hear from me at least once a month, everybody who has ever bought or sold with you. Then there's the third level, and that's your top clients. And this is not my idea. The top clients is top 150. The idea came from the core coaching. And the idea is to get top 150 people that you want to do business with, or people that refer you. Out of that top 150, you break that down into 3. You get your top 50 clients, which is your clients who have bought or sold with you, and they have to be people that like you and that you like. If it's somebody that doesn't like you and you don't like them, don't add them to that list, because these top 150, you're going to be calling them a lot or reaching out to them a lot. That top 150, so the top 50 clients is anybody who's ever bought or sold with you. Then is your top favorite 50 people. And these are people who have not yet bought with you, but these are people that you would like to do business with. It could be, you know, a mentor. It could be somebody in your soccer moms club. It could be your neighbor, your instructor, your, you know, whatever. It could be anyone who you would like to do business with, or anyone who has ever referred somebody to you, and they haven't yet bought or sold with you, but they referred business to you. You need to put them in the list where you're keeping an eye out on them, right? For birthdays or life events. And then there's our top 50 business people. Top 50 business people are people like tax attorneys, some people mentioned tax attorneys or probate attorneys, tax preparers, investors. These are all top 50 business people that can refer you a lot of business. My 2 biggest referral sources are investors and tax preparers. Those are the 2 biggest referral sources in my whole database. So these top 150, they hear from me a lot more. They hear from me, I would probably say, at least twice a month, maybe 3 times a month. They get a birthday cupcake from me. If they have a baby, they get a box of diapers. If they get at wedding anniversary, they get a champagne bottle. If they, you know, I don't know, their son is graduated from high school or college, I send them, you know, a nice gift. So this top 150, I spend a little bit more money on them. And they also hear from me a lot more than the other levels of database. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. Thank you for elaborating that too.
Awesome. You know, I think it's out of our, you know, human behavior to want to follow up. It's the way it is. We're hunters. We want to go after the meal, kill it, eat it, move on to the next one. And it's impressive to see that you're doing that, because, you know, you close a deal, and the hardest thing to do, in my opinion, it's true, is the follow-up process, because we forget, we're human. We forget, we move on to the next task. So kudos to you, because that many touches per year to your database is quite clearly most of your business is repeat, referral. They like working with you. You've created a great process. So that is awesome, Daniel. Thank you. Julie, social media. Question of the year, right? How does everyone do it? How do you do social media? So 2 questions for you here is, how big is your audience? So how many people are you advertising to when you run an ad? And then how long do you run it for? Because I think it's tough, because we want to run it and you spend $50, you're like, oh, I only spent $50 for a week, but I got 15 engagements. So let's go another week. So how big is the audience and how long? And that could be a loaded question, it could be too broad of it. So if you want to elaborate on it, please do. I'd like to know, you can teach me something. So.
Kind of an anecdote. So with any kind of ad, you have to really commit to it. And it's similar to consistency, but it's true commitment. So if you make an ad and you're gonna run it, you have to commit to running that ad. So you need to commit to at least 30 days, preferably 45, because you're just not gonna get a result if you just throw up an ad for a week and then you get mad that you get 2 leads off of it. So I like to say that, and I've created plenty of them, if you create an ad and it's an ugly baby, no one wants to say when it's an ugly baby, you made it yourself, you just don't want to admit it, but you're responsible for this ugly baby, you need to feed it, and you need to keep nurturing it for 30 to 45 days, right? So you gotta think of it that way. Somebody shared that, comparison with me quite a while ago, and I love it, because it's true. You need to really commit to it. So anytime you run an ad, you might hate it after the first. Honestly, I like to make them and not look at them again, because I know that I'm going to overthink it and I'm going to get mad and want to take it down. Then you're likely not going to get any hits off it. Or what usually happens is you're going to get a great amount of hits the first 2 days, and then it's going to be nothing for days. And then you're going to feel like you failed, or you're going to feel like that's good enough and want to try it again. Yes?
Are you doing video ads, or are you doing print? Well, not print ads.
So I do a combination. So the types of ads, and I think they're going to ask this question a little bit, but we'll go into it a little bit now, is I boost videos. I don't do video ads. So whenever I have a content video I'm putting out, I use the boost feature on Facebook. And for a boost audience, I keep it under 2,000 people. If you try to extend it further than that, you just don't get as much visibility as you think you would. It's counterintuitive. More people is actually bad. So you want a pretty niche audience. You really need to sit down and decide who you want to be seeing that ad. With boosting, honestly, there's not an exact science to it. With anytime I boost something, I like to commit to, you get to pick your overall budget. I usually just do $10 and run it for 3 days. And I keep the audience under 2,000. When I do I like to call it a blanket ad, so an actual ad for Facebook, I keep the audience between 700 and 1,100. Because again, the way it works is when you're distributing ads, it goes by your budget, and it goes by how many people in your audience. So, for example, if you have 3,000 people in your audience, then that money isn't going to go as far because it's trying to put you in front of 3,000 people. Does that make sense?
You did.
Okay.
No, that's good.
I kind of forgot the question now.
It's one of those unknowns. Facebook still is unknown, especially the ad parts. If you've ever gone to the business ads manager, it can be tough to target your audience, figure out what you're doing, but I'm sure Julie's an open book, she'd be happy to share, but I'm learning too. The last year I've learned from a couple of our partners out there on how to do it. Liz has been a great help with me, and it's tough because you're finding your audience and you're letting it run for a certain amount of time, but like you said, you have to continue with it. And that way you can gauge results on how it works, so your next ad, you can change something like maybe it's not an ugly baby. I'm just kidding. But you change up. Yes, exactly.
But you have to commit to it and not be mad at yourself when you spend the money on it and you don't get anything from it.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it.
So the actual targeted ad where you pick your audience, you do the little picture, and then you get to pick what it says and things like that. So when you're going in your ad manager and actually building an ad, then that's 30 to 45 days. Boosts, you don't want to do them longer than 3, 4, maybe 5 days.
So ads 30 to 45 days, boosts no more than 5 days. Sorry, another question.
Your audience, is it buyers or sellers that you're targeting?
So for Facebook ads, I feel like and this is just personal view, but I see a ton of let me get you the value of your home. So I do buyers for Facebook ads. I just find that with sellers, a lot of times with the leads I've gotten from sellers ads, it's people that just want the value of their home, they want nothing else from you, they don't want to talk to you. So it's really, I go for buyers because usually they're people that, you know, are between the ages of 22 and 32, and they're on Facebook anyway, and they're like, oh, I was looking into buying a home, let me see what this is about. So it's just more solid leads.
Thank you. On to you, Brian. We're coming to you, buddy. I'm going to stand on your side this time, so I'm going to walk over. The door knocking king. I love it. I love it. Beyond his Facebook jokes, he's amazing. I love it. So, you know, we talk about how you got into door knocking. It was just like you had to do it. You know, the family to provide for. You know, you just got to. How am I going to make money now? It's a great way because you're creating a human connection. So, you kind of specialize in that luxury space. Mainly because it's kind of your spot where you live close to it, right? But how do you decide when you pick your area for door knocking? Like, how did you decide that that was what you're going to do for door knocking?
Well, I started out when I started door knocking. It was I was a serial door knocker. I didn't know what to do, so I would park at one end of the street. I hit every single house on that side. I come back this side, park my car, go to a tree, do it again and again and again until I got listed. I would tell my wife, I'm not coming home until I get listed. So I just go out and I do it. And the longest it's ever taken was 86 doors. It was a miserable day, but 86 doors paid off, you know. Now I'm a little bit more strategic. You know, when you think about open houses, you don't want to sit the multi-million-dollar ones. If I'm going to go door knock, I do want to go to the bigger ones. Although I don't want to door knock, you know, $200,000 listings, because I can do the same. I mean, the lots are a little bit bigger, but the price point is higher, so it's actually the opposite when you go door knocking. If you're going to go talk to people, you know, give myself a raise, I'm going to hit the $500 to $2 to $3 million homes. That's really how I do it, and it's a little bit more strategic now than it was even, you know, 2 years ago. So. Yes, I have. I have been in gated communities.
You just asked for it.
Well, FedEx guys have the codes. Pizza guys. Yeah, you know, I've never really, I mean, I have not door knocked in Judson. I've door knocked in Finisterre, Mountain Shadows. No one really cares. No one says, hey, how'd you get in here? I mean, FedEx is there delivering Amazon packages all day long. I can just follow the FedEx truck. But you'd be surprised, you know, when I first started doing it, I was so worried about, well, these people, what are they going to think of me? I'm going and they're probably reading a book or they're getting their kids, you know, a snack after school. And I can't stand it when people come to my house and door knock. But I'll tell you what, my financial advisor is here in the back of the room, and I met him because he door knocked me 4 or 5 years ago. And so it does work, you know. But yeah, you'd be amazed. I'd say for every 100 people that I door knock, 35, 40% of them are home. And out of those, maybe 1 or 2 of them are, you know, in a bad mood, don't want to be there. But for the most part, people are pretty cool. You know, they don't have a problem with me coming and talking to them.
What time do you go?
So when I first started doing it, I was, one of my mentors was saying, dude, go from 3 to 5. That's when people are home. That's when people are home, but that's when people are getting home from work, and they are getting their kids snacks, and they are getting them ready for soccer, or they're having a drink, or whatever else. It was not very well received. So now I go from basically 10 to 2 or 10 to 3. If someone's not there, I write a little note on my business card, slip it, you know, put it on the door. Hey, sorry, I missed you, give me a call. People call and they're like, hey, I saw you left your card on my door. What do you need? They think that, you know, maybe I saw somebody steal a package or something. I don't know. But anyway, then I capture their number, I know who they are, and so on and so forth.
Do you do door knockers or just the card?
I used to go out with like postcards or door knockers, door hangers. But I found like when people would open the door, I spent more time kind of like, well, here's my, you know, product, and we start talking about what I'm giving out. Now, what it was good for is I could track how many homes I was door knocking. So if I went out with, you know, 50 postcards, I'd say, all right, I'm going to go till all 50 of these are gone. But I found that it's better for me, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to hit 50 houses a day or 25 or something like that. When you're looking at how many calls you make a day, I just block out like 2 or 3 hours. So I'm going to go, okay, today I'm going to go for 4 hours. I'm going to do 4 hours, and you know, somebody's, I mean, I hit a guy the other day, come on in, young man. I didn't even say anything, I just ring the door, like, come on in, young man. And I go in there, he's selling his house, he's got another investment property in McCormick Ranch. It's just amazing, you know, but we spent a good 15, 20 minutes talking, maybe even longer, and then I was on my way. But if I would have said, hey, I'm gonna go out and do 25 houses, well, this guy just set me back. You know, essentially now I've got to go get 24 more, and I've got to speed through it, so I just don't really have a number.
And you said strategic, so you can explain it, like you said, when you first went, you went to every house, and then came back and went to every other house, and you said now you're more strategic. How's that?
So, I feel there's different types of door knocking. I think you could be the serial door knocker and just go out and hit as many homes as you possibly can. And I actually did that when I was in college. I sold vacuum cleaners door to door. And that was tough, but you know, it did get me out there and kind of over being afraid. I mean, I still, there you go. And you know, when people still come to my door now, I do hear them out. I don't always like it, but so strategic. I think you got, you know, your serial, whatever you want to call it. Just go out there, hit everything. You're going to get something, without a doubt. It may take you 86 homes, it may take you 6. You could go door knock your farm, but if you do the same houses again and again, I think what I've seen is you're missing other opportunities if you just keep going back to the same people. Now, strategic, I started calling developers, investors, and saying, hey, what are your needs? How can I help you? And they say, well, here's what we're looking for. If you can find us this in this parameter, we'll buy it. Okay, so I basically took that and I go into an area. Now I can go and I can actually say, hey, I have a buyer that is interested in making an offer on your house. Are you interested in selling? You know, and no. All right, if you change your mind, here's my card. You can call me. Most of these people call me within 6 hours, a day, 2 days. We put a deal together. So.
Thank you.
One more?
Okay, go ahead.
So what is your spiel? I mean, what's your script? When somebody answers the door, hello?
Just an easy question. What's your script? So what's your basis? What's the value? What are you saying to them when you get to the door?
And what do you give out?
I give out knowledge. So when I tell a lot of jokes too. But when I go to the doors, I don't necessarily have a script. I used to have a script, and I try to stick to that. That works on the phones, and I think that works at open houses. When I do open houses, I kind of go through the same thing. When you go to a door, you never know who's behind that door. And if there's 5 Rottweilers that come to the door, forget your script. It doesn't work. If it's somebody that opens the door and they're in their underwear, smoking a cigarette, your script doesn't work. So just do it. I just go up to the door, ring the doorbell, knock on the door, take a few steps back so I'm not threatening, and smile and kind of tell jokes. When people say, well, what's your script? Well, if you stick to one and someone says, what are you here for? What are you selling? I'm selling T-bone steaks. Okay? Or, who's that? Let's make Mouse's underwear. Just get them, just go up to the door and just talk. That's all you got to do. 90% of it, I don't think, is what you say or how you look or how you're dressed or how many years you've been in the business. It's just getting out there and doing it. That's really all it is.
I was talking to Brian beforehand offline a bit, and I asked him, the conversation was a little different, but I said, how many of them are, what's, as opposed to great people? So of all the people that he door knocks, he says 98% of people are nice. The other 2% are, what's. And that's the point. You just get out there and do it. There really isn't a script. You just have to open the lines of communication, kind of suck up, go out there and have some fun with it, have a good time. So I'm going to stick with you just for a minute. We're going to move on because I know we have other questions to ask. I'm going to ask you a question is how do you keep track of everybody? Do you have a follow strategy? And I know the answer, but I want you to tell. How do you keep track of the people you door knock, and how do you follow up with them?
All right, well, I'm really bad with names. So when you go and say, hey, I'm Brian or whatever else, I forget their names right away. So those of you that go to the gym, I think everybody does this, whether you admit it or not. Everybody has a nickname at the gym. You got leg day, the guy that's only doing upper body. You got, I do the same thing when I go door knocking. You know, I hit a lady last year, ended up selling her house, and she was a collector. She had a lot of stuff. So until I learned who her name was, you know, from going back again and again, she was a collector. Had another guy that smokes all the time. That's Ashtray. There's a guy there's a real hairy guy. He's Chewy. So I kind of give myself, you know, a simple way to remember who I'm talking to. And then when I, you know, go back to my phone and pull it up on Zoom, oh, okay, all right, so that's Dale. Dale's Chewy. And then I take that and I put it into my Excel spreadsheet, and then I keep track through Excel. So I don't have any fancy app or fancy CRM or anything like that. It's old school. I print everything out and I got them in files. I send letters to everybody that I door knock as follow-up, and I hit them again and again. I send them letters. I run ads in their area. I do mailers and tons of flyers. So it's kind of a little bit of everything, but it all starts at the door.
Only when
I
they show
wanted-
interest, or only when they show interest, or everybody you've ever talked to?
All of them. That's why I like this
Until
volunteer
someone
itself.
tells me they don't want me coming back, I keep doing that.
And the reason I asked you the question is I wanted you to tell the crowd Excel spreadsheet. And I love it because you don't have a fancy CRM. You hustle, you roll up your sleeves, you follow up, you send them letters, you show up again, you stay consistent with your plan. And it works. You don't have to have fancy schmancy stuff. And I love it. You're just, I'm in awe of this guy, can you tell? I love it just because you're doing it every single day, you're doing it well. Kudos to you. All right, back to the top again. So staying on follow-up and how you stay in touch with everyone, Neil. With all the open houses you do, with all the touches, all the people you meet, how do you stay in touch with them? Because they come in that open house and, you know, they could have seen 15 realtors that day. So what is your strategy in staying in touch with the buyers that come through?
Well, you know, just like everybody here, a lot of us have CRMs and things like that. I use something called Wise Agent. Has anybody ever heard of Wise Agent? Okay, yeah, it's super simple. Not a lot of technicality to it. So I just try to make a really good impression on the people when they come into the open house. I try and remember their names. I mean, I forget their name the second they say it, so I have to, you know, when they do their sign-in thing, I make sure that I get that. But yeah, I put them in my database, and then I just call them. I keep calling them. I'll call them, you know, usually 3 times, and then I'll put them on a recall for automatic emails until they turn into something.
And is there ever a phone call? Is there a text? Is it simply email? Is it responsive, or are you actually reaching out on is there a time frame of how often that follow-up is? Because I think some of us don't want to be pests. We don't want to seem like we're annoying everybody. So is there a time frame or a follow-up strategy to that?
Yeah, typically what I'll do is I will, you know, the day that people come in, I'll send them a text when they leave. Hey, thanks for coming to my open house. If I can ever be of assistance, let me know. Then maybe, you know, about a week or so later, I might give them a quick phone call. They'll see my number come in. My number is 1111, so they kind of recognize it. And then I'll send them an email. And then after that, I'll put them on a drip campaign for maybe once every 90 days to get something from me. And then after the 90 days, I'll usually give them a call and say, hey, have you been getting my information? Blah, 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 blah. And it's just an incremental thing, and you just got to stay with it. I have people that came into an open house 5 years ago, and all of a sudden they'll call me. And they'll say, oh yeah, you know, I've been getting your stuff, now I'm ready to do something. Yeah.
That's a great testament to it. It's just it's that consistency again.
Yeah.
So Kenny, I'm coming back to you with your question. Is when did you want to give up on that farm? I mean, it's tough because you spend that money per month and 4 or 5 months go by. And for me, it seems like that's when it's like, oh man, it hurts and I've got nothing. And you have to expect that. So when did you want to give up? And then what did you do to power through that, to stay focused, that you knew that it's going to take more than a couple months?
Well, for me, it was, again, having a plan that I was going to stick it out for 12, although sometimes when you say that, to execute it is the other side. When you're, nothing wrong with FedEx income, it was just when you're draining that account, at $1,500 a month or so and no return. Fortunately, the very first little trifold I sent out, I got a listing on, and but then it took, we were way out. I mean, Ellsworth and 60 was, like back in the day, we did the grids, and I would have to kind of, cheap, but kind of improvise and put us in this other one, so at least the Power Road. people didn't know we were out there because we were so far. So it took probably 3 months to sell that. On top of it at 150,000. So the ROI was not that great at that point. And then I went 7 months without another listing appointment in the farm. The good news is, I mean, I was still working at FedEx, I still had income, and I still felt good. I had done some free ads on the back of the newsletter. I was starting to engage some people. I was starting to put my newsletters in the businesses, little stands. So I started to integrate with some of the business people, because again, in FedEx, you dealt with business and residential. So I got to know my whole market here if I want to really be the mayor of the community, if you will. And so just started kind of doing that, and then at month 7, and again, I'm terrible with numbers, that's why I'm in business with Scott now, because he does all that part, is I just remember getting 3 listing appointments in month 7. And again, these are not all typical, it just happened to work out, and I got all 3, and I didn't track from there forward. I just don't remember not doing a listing from there on out, and it just started to kind of snowball, because when you're in 1,700 homes and you start, and we were in a new community at the time, so I was competing with new, which was very difficult. I don't necessarily recommend it now, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And then it just started to kind of build, and the calls started coming in. And the difference is we have 2 types of ways to get leads, right? We have prospecting and we have marketing, and we've always been marketing based. I'm a high I in my disc profile, so you want people to like you and not to listen to some of the door knocking and that stuff has just not been my thing. Not that it shouldn't be, but it hasn't. With marketing, they're calling you. With prospecting, you're calling them. And so when the calls started kind of coming in and kind of gave us the opportunity to start to build a team, because we had abundance of leads at that point, which then gave me the opportunity to expand into the next subdivision. So we went from 1,700 to taking 2 more subdivisions, which went to 5,000. Did that for about 2 years, led with revenue, went to 8,000, 12,000, 17,000, gradually over a course of time, continued to grow by, again, reinvesting back into the business.
It's nice to know, just because I think there's always a level of like, oh man, this isn't working, I gotta give up. And never in a business, never in real estate, but we're growing a business, so it takes time. Yeah, we were talking today on the dose when we were recording about, you know, everybody seems like it's an overnight success, but you know, it's 17 years to be an overnight success kind of concept. You know, it takes time to build your business. It's never ever going to happen overnight. It doesn't. Correct, Carl.
And with that thought, I mean, when I see each one of these individuals, I go, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do. I'm going to follow Kenny. I'm going to follow. It doesn't matter. The thing is, I can't do all of these things. And each one of these people, if you took all their team and individual production, I don't know their numbers, but I'm assuming it's probably $500 million.
Huge.
It's a big friggin' number, right? And so we have to be careful, because it's like a fire hose, right? I can't do everything that any one of these individuals is doing. So how do I, and each one of these individuals is doing something else. They're doing their primary pillar, but there is a common denominator. I know you're going to finish up this, but I'd be curious to what that common denominator is.
It's one of my questions at the end. I love it. I love that you're forward thinking with it, because it's how do you determine what your pillars are.
And you look very sexy in that suit.
Wow, Carl. I should stare at you. If I turn away, you're going to look at my backside. Thanks, Carl. Am I turning red? I don't know. What a great guy. Gosh, I love it. I love it. So, on to Steve. So, there's a lot, you know how you see the postings in pre-MLS, or I've got an off-market deal, and we see this all the time, and I'm sure always like, oh, great, yeah. Well, the question is how do you find an off-market deal? What do you do to find a property that's off-market? And maybe you kind of answered it before, but maybe we could be more specific in this question is, what are you doing daily to find those properties, the off-market deals?
Finding the off-market deals is really about, and this is one of those things that I just leveraged as we started thinking about the investment. We started being the absolute best solution we could for our clients. So what a lot of these guys do, we do as well. We have an acquisition manager that's on the phone every day. We have social media going down. We don't do any farming, probably should. The open houses don't bring in the things that we want, but it all comes from being a solution. So my clients, using social media, I had a 15-year-old client reach out to me when he saw me throwing glass plates in a dumpster, saying, leave all your crap in the house and we'll buy it the way it is. We bought that house and we repurposed it. The lady actually had, 5 40-yard dumpsters full of crap in this house that has been there a year and a half, sitting there doing nothing. So where we get them from is from when my wife says this, she says, we buy houses the minute people fall out of love with them and they're done with them. They're just junk. And it's amazing in this market, there's still people out there that are just done. So, all of you guys have gone to a listing appointment and walked in and either the smell, the sight has just taken you by surprise. And I love those appointments because that's instantly where we turn from listing agent to buyer. And that's a lot of where we find it. Because when my clients call me, I give them the option because we have the option, you guys have the option to take away the pain. And unfortunately, our industry has done a really good job at complicating the process. And so we've just taken that pain away by being the buyer or being the solution and giving them those options. And you'd be amazed at how many people are actually willing to leave a bunch of money on the table to make the problem go away. So that's where it is. It's just being prepared for the opportunity when it arises.
I think, sir. It's tough because you see the off-market deal, off-market this, and people are going. Sometimes you don't want to ask the question, how do you find an off-market deal? So thank you, Ben. On to you, my man. So sometimes we get on the phone and get scared, the nerves go, and you ask the question. They're like, no, okay, see you later, bye. You said no, but you want to hang up the phone and be done, right? It's like they said no. How do you keep them on the phone? What is your guys' strategy on the conversation and when they maybe do give you that objection? So how do you keep them on the phone? How do you overcome that objection of the word no, what it means?
Simple. It's all simple stuff. That's what I like about this is I'm probably like the dumbest guy up here. And I just found like the easiest thing to do was, right? Like this is what you should do. Just do this and you'll get results. And that's what I did. So I went to MikeFerry.com. I was the first coach I ever hired with Mike Ferry. And it's basically like the whole coaching system is a series of like 10 questions, right? And it's all question-based selling. And the same objections, the same conversations are going to come up when you call people. And if you really trust that, you really learn what those objections and what those things are, you know exactly what to say. And it's just a series of questions. And I think that everyone up here really has the same mind frame, is that we're all here to help people. And the only way you can help people is if you ask a question and shut up. They don't want to hear you talk. They want to talk. They want to tell you about their problem. They want to tell you how awesome their house is. You just need to listen. And so most of the time when people get off put by cold callers, calling them when it's dinner time or when they're preparing snacks for their kids, it's because they want to pitch a product. No one wants to be sold. No one wants to hear how great of a real estate agent you are. Everyone up here can deliver an awesome client experience, as well as all of you out there. And no one wants to hear about your awesome, call center, your awesome marketing tools. We can all do that. But can you really care about your client? And so when you're on the phone, you have to be able to express that you genuinely care about them. And so I think when you are getting on the phone, when you are getting ready to prospect and call people, your attitude matters, right? You need to be in a cheerful environment. You need to be in an environment with other like-minded people that are there with a goal and a purpose to help other people, because your attitude, it really does, it's contagious through the phone. If you're in a bad mood, if you're sitting down at your office, talking, they want to get off the phone with you, you're just going to get off the phone with them. They can tell you don't really care. But likewise, if you're excited, if you're really energetic and you're enthusiastic about, listen, I'm going to take 3 listing appointments today on this phone, I'm not going to stop. You're going to be very energetic and you're going to ask the right questions and you're going to listen to people and really listen, right? Like, what do they really want out of this phone call? What are their needs? What are their long-term goals? And it might not be right now. Most of the people, are not going to say, listen, yeah, come list my house right now today. Funny you called. I was going to call one of these 10,000 realtors and you just happened to call me today. No, but they might be thinking about selling in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. Do you care now? Because you should. And if you can understand what their needs are 7 months out, a year out, 11 months, and you really genuinely care about it, Well, now you have an opportunity to build a relationship with these people. And that's really what this is all about. Everything that we do up here is all about relationship building. And I've just been able to develop relationships quicker over the phone because, yeah, we got a lot of no's, and that's awesome, right? We can't help everyone. But there's a lot of people that we can connect with that we can add value to their lives. And I think if you can ask the right questions, that's really the way you keep people on the phone. And that's it. So if you're looking for some simple dialogues, just go to mikeferry.com. Another follow-up, you know, I'm not always the best at conveying why the phones are so good and why I like it. But if you're looking for a really good book, Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt is an awesome book. What was that? Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt is an awesome book. And I highly recommend it if you're all considering getting on the phones. And I think we all need to realize that we are in the business of sales. I think it would serve you well to pick up that book and read it.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. To Barraza. Daniel, so I mean, your business, your repeat referral business is huge. That's, I mean, you've gone from, you know, your massive prospecting, you had the business you had before with the contacts you made from the loan mods to short sales and all that stuff that led to this. So what is I mean, it's tough sometimes to ask for referral as an agent. You know, we don't want to be cheesy. We don't want to seem like, you know, we see in our email banners, you know, nothing's better than a referral, or it's on the back of our cards and you see it out there, you know, but you have to ask. Like, you literally have to ask for referrals. If you don't ask, you're not going to get them. And sometimes people don't know to give to you. Maybe they refer their family or friend, but we have to constantly be asking. I know Daniel is really good at this. So how are you doing this on a daily basis to your database? Like, how are you asking them for referrals, your clients? How are you doing it? And maybe you have a strategic approach or a fun way, like the Facebook group.
So, I honestly don't ask as much as I should. I rarely ask, but I did come up with a Facebook closed group only for my top 150 clients. Now, my top 150 list is not perfect, right? So I probably have like 78 top 50 clients. It's supposed to be 50. I have like 78, 79. My favorite people, I probably have like 61, 62. And business people, I'm really slacking on that one. It's like 23 or 24. Just because on those business people, you have to court them, you know, like a tax attorney, or you have to kind of like lenders court us, and title reps, you know, invite you out to lunch and a coffee, and we have to do the same thing with them, right? We want to court them, give me 5 minutes of your time, whatever. So that list is only 23, although it should be 50. So I've got this Facebook closed group where I do raffles, and the legal way to do raffles is you need to include everybody in the raffle, right? So I include everybody in the raffle. For some reason, only the clients that refer business are the ones that win for some reason or another. I don't know how that works. I don't know that's right. But on this business people, you know, these business people, there's actually, you know, there's a broker in here who's in that list. I'm not going to say his name because all my home group agents are going to get mad at him because he refers business to me and not to them. But so there's a broker in here who's on my list. There's actually somebody in this panel who just referred me my second client, who now is on this. I just added to this list, and as I was adding him to this list, I noticed his birthday is Sunday. I was like, man, that means I have to give him something, you know. So I'm gonna add him Monday right after his birthday, so I don't have to give him anything. But you know, it's I think, and John Shepard said this too. He says you add value, you add value, you add value, and when you ask for a deposit, it'll be a lot easier. And a lot of times you may even have to ask. They'll automatically think of you. Why would they automatically think of you? Is because, you know, you're the only one that you're the only person that actually reached out to them on the birthday. Instead of a Facebook message, you actually called them. They actually got a birthday, you know, cupcakes from you. They actually got a box of diapers when they had a baby. So whenever somebody is thinking about buying or selling, they're going to think about you automatically. So I don't, to answer the question, I don't ask as much as I would like to ask, but I'm actually doing a video tomorrow. I need to dress up and do a video where I'm going to blast it out, asking for a referral. That's the first time I've ever done that. So that's, hope that answers your question.
It does, you know, and it's funny because you're inadvertently asking, you know, the raffles, your closed Facebook group. It's a great group. He goes live on Facebook, everyone gets a notification, and they get to see what he's doing, he's raffling off. So, you are asking, but like you said, you are depositing into your database, and it's so much easier to ask for withdrawals. So I think when you actually send out your referral video, your response is gonna be huge, because you're always giving value depositing into the database. So kudos. Julie, so 2 questions, even though it's kind of the same. So how do you determine how much you're spending, and then how much do you spend on a Facebook ad? It's hard to tell. I mean, you kind of touched on it your last question, but how do you know to spend 25, 50, 100? Because it's tough. Like, you want to, well, I threw 25 and I got this much, but if I throw 75 at it, maybe I'll get quadruple the amount. But sometimes that's not the case, right? So how do you determine your budget, and how much are you spending on each ad?
It's a super easy answer. $5 to $10 a day. 7 is the sweet spot. So anytime you make an ad, of course you have to think about your overall budget, just personally, financially, but once you start getting into higher numbers, you're really not getting as much of an ROI, because it does level out, I found, at least these things do. So I never spend more than $8 a day when I build out an ad. As for how much spent per month, depends how many ads you want to run. I never run more than 2 at a time, because I just think it's overkill. A lot of times I'll make 2, and then I'll let one run continuously, and then I kill the ugly baby, because I'm, I don't know, a hypocrite, I guess. But you really shouldn't do that. You should run.
What do you,
Wait.
what are the ads you talk about?
Specifically the type of ad.
Oh, well, and
What's
you
it
just
geared
have
towards?
to, you have to provide value. So I've done like a slew of things. So I was really proud of, built out like all these branded checklists. And I was super proud of these checklists. I spent way too much time on these checklists, you guys. Awesome checklists though. But anyway, so I put out an ad saying, hey, essentially the call to action was click here and you can download this. All I asked for was an email capture. I know you always want phone numbers, but I found that people will 9 times out of 10 give you a false number, but give you a real email address, so I quit asking for phone numbers on some of them. So all you have to do, and I actually give it to them. So they go to click on the ad to get the checklist, and they enter their email. They're immediately sent the checklist, and then I put them on a drip campaign. So it's always adding value. Or it's see all these listings with pools, and surprise, under $250,000. I think that's everyone's favorite ad right now. And then they get to click on it, and then they're immediately given access to Flex MLS, and that shows them what they're looking for. I find that a lot of people I talk to that try to do Facebook ads, they're trying to sell themselves, and I don't personally think that works, because nobody's going to want to click on an ad that says, hey, my name's Julie Calza, you should use me because I'm cool.
Right. To stay on that, which I got that one. So on a $5 to $10 ad, 2 running at a time, what would you say on average your ROI is on those ads? Your return on investment?
So it's tricky. I never find that I'm spending more than $2 per lead. Typically, I like to keep it around $1 per lead per result. Now, when I'm boosting, usually I can get it under 5 cents per result. Boosting's a lot different though, because you're just looking for activity on your page. So something that's really awesome is the way that the Facebook algorithms work is the more activity you get on your page, the more relevant your ads are. So it's not so much about the money you spend, it's about how active you are on Facebook in general. So making sure your page has posts that are getting engagement, making sure you're getting likes on your page and on your posts, that'll be huge when you go to use Ad Manager to build ads. Because Facebook rewards people who use Facebook. So the more you use Facebook, the more content you add to Facebook. So for example, I do video. I upload it to YouTube, of course, but I never link YouTube to Facebook because I know Facebook wants my content. So I download it immediately to Facebook because then it belongs to Facebook. Facebook world is happy, and they'll make my ads more relevant. They'll make me more relevant. So not only does it make it to where my ads distribute better, it makes it to where my audience, so people who like my page or people who have searched for something similar to what my page is, are going to see me pop up. So that's really key. It's not so much the money you spend or even the ad you put out. It's about how active you are in Facebook. Facebook rewards activity.
Awesome.
Hey, Mark, nice guy. What's the name of your business page?
So mine's really easy. It's Julie Calza, Surprise Area Realtor. The reason for that is, if you Google me, then that's the first thing that comes up. If you Google surprise realtor, that's the first thing that comes up. It's just keywords.
Hey Julie, another quick question. It's kind of along the same lines. How much are you toggling back and forth between your personal page and your business page, or does it matter to you?
So, someone really important to me who's here, Lizzie Hofer. I sat down in front of her when I first built this business, and she taught me many valuable things. And one of the most valuable she taught me in launching Facebook and a business based on it is personal is personal, business is business. You will never, if you're friends with me on Facebook, you will never see me pushing a listing on my personal page. My friends don't care. It doesn't matter if they're in the market buy a house or not, they don't care. But I tell you what, I get way more business from my personal page than I do from my business page. The reason is people see who I am as a person and see the activity and its authenticity. They know who I am. That pushes them to my Facebook page, which gets me more engagement, more traffic, which makes the ads more relevant, and it's all a ripple effect. So they don't communicate, I don't like tag them back and forth. I very rarely share things from one or the other. I just don't find that it works.
How do you, now to ask, how are you following up with the amount of leads that you're getting? Is it a phone call, is it an email? I mean, so when they opt in, what's your follow-up process?
So, it's so great to sit on this panel because honestly, like, I've watched all of you as I'm building my business, so it's great to like see and sit next to you and see how everybody views it differently. And like Ben, for example, is this is great to see how opposite it is, but I don't call people. Most of the people that I interact with and I do business with ask me not to call them. Like, I mean, a lot of people would want to slap me across the face, but a lot of times if a client prefers it, I present a picture and a text message. So, because that's what they want. And so, to answer your question, it depends on how they opted in. If they emailed, I emailed them. A lot of times people will see my ads, click on them, opt in, and I get a notification on my phone that they opted, and click on that, and then they send me a Facebook message anyway. And I always, always, always communicate with clients by the method they reached out to me first, unless they tell me otherwise. But in that first conversation I have with them, I ask them what they prefer, and I always stick to it.
Thank you. Go ahead.
How do you push from your personal to your business?
So I don't. It happens organically.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no. So it happens naturally because as people get to know who I am as a person on my personal page, I make a lot of stuff public, and so people see it, and it makes them interested in what I'm doing on my business page, and they just go there naturally. I know it happens because with Facebook, you can click on your page manager and see where all your traffic comes from. So I know that it's happening, but I don't tell them, hey, go look at my business page. Honestly, I wouldn't have as much traffic as I do if I did that because people, then they feel like you're selling them something.
You do mention you're in the business that you don't push in.
It's on as what my profession is, and there'll be pictures of me. I like to tell stories. I feel like social media is a huge platform for telling stories. So if I have a deal that's literally put me through the ringer, and the client has had to go through a lot, and I've gotten them through it, I tell the story on my personal page because that's personal. It was a personal struggle every time I missed my 4-year-old's bedtime to be there for that client, right? So they know.
And somewhere it's listed how to get to your business page.
Well, yeah, because it's just my name.
So, Carl, I see you. We're going to get to you, I promise. Since we're getting short on time, I have one more question, and then we can open it up for everyone to ask questions. So write it down, remember what it is, because I'm going to give you the mic. You did a great job answering like everything. Your last one was awesome. You just do that. That's what you do, bro. I love this guy. If I haven't told you. So I'm going to give you the mic, and then when I ask, just pass it down to the right and let everybody answer. I don't think this is, I have it written down for new agents. I don't think this is a new agent question, because I think a lot of us in the room too are trying to determine, Carl said it back there, is I want to do all this stuff. Like I hear open houses, I hear farming, investing, phone calls, database management, Facebook, door knocking. There's so many things. So what did you do to figure out initially what your pillar was? Let me rephrase it. How do you determine to figure out the best pillar for you, and how many should you have? Because I don't think it should be one. There should be one or two person. That's my opinion, but maybe your guys' opinion is different. Please share that. So what do you do to determine the best pillar for you, and how many should you have?
Well, that's a good question. The best pillar for me is what made me the most revenue. So
For others.
for others,
To figure it out.
well, what you're comfortable doing. Not everybody wants to go out and knock on a door. However, I highly encourage you to give it a try and not just do 8 doors and quit. You will get listings, you will meet people, and you will do very well. But I have, in addition to door knocking, I do direct mail, I do handwritten letters, and I also do flyers to the same 10,000 people every other week for the entire year. So I hit them again and again and again and again. Did I answer that question?
Yeah.
Same question. Go ahead.
I totally, you caught my attention because I respect that obviously you're doing very well considering you've done 10,000 flyers, and because you obviously started your business door knocking all day. So at what point in your business did you change your door knocking from a number of door knocking to 4 hours only? And I thought that it was cool that that was the base of your business and you're still doing that.
Right.
So when do you decide to change it? Is it a certain amount of listings that you get and then
Now it's really adapted to more that I have buyers. So anybody in this room can speak with any one of the other agents in this room and say, hey, do you have any needs there I could help? So when I go out and door knock, there's agents in my office, there's other investors. I could call Steve and say, hey, what area? Do you have anybody for McCormick Ranch or South Scottsdale? I'll go get them, and put deals together that way. So, but I think it's really just what you're comfortable with. Some people are saying, hey, I can't sleep at night unless I hit 25 a day, and they can't stop. Well, I used to be like that, and now I'm just like, look, it will come. If you work it, it works if you work it. So as long as you're out there doing it, the toughest door to open is your front door of your house or the car door to get out and just start doing it. Once you do that, and you start doing it, you get into this rhythm and you have fun. People are cool. I meet so many cool people when I do this, and it's the last thing I thought would happen. When I first started doing this, I'm like, oh, this is awful. But now I actually enjoy doing it. Sure, I'd rather be, golfing, even though I don't golf, but I'd rather, go fishing, or, do things like that. But it's fun. So for me, I get exercise, I get out, I get to meet people, and I have a lot of fun doing it.
You said earlier that your proposition, aside from jokes, is value. What kind of value are you presenting to these people in million-dollar homes?
So I know the market that I'm hitting. When I first started, I didn't, and I really didn't care, but I adapted over time because people would ask me questions. Hey, did you see so-and-so house? So no. I actually live 3 miles that way, and I was a big treat. I thought I'd stop here to eat lunch and start hitting houses. So now I can tell you between Shea Boulevard and Camelback Road, Scottsdale, all the way over to 32nd Street, the last 6 months of what's sold, from a tear down to a multi-million-dollar home to private. So I know what the area is, and I used to just do 6 months. Now you really have to go back a year, because a lot of people are like, well, so-and-so sold their house for $2.2 million, and that was just, well, it was actually a year ago. But time goes by fast, and you really should know the area. So I know that. I know the active number of listings, number of expireds, things like that. So if they do ask the questions, I sound educated. But again, going back and getting people to open up, you just have to have fun with it and go out and be comfortable doing what you're doing. If you just go there with a pitch and you sound like a salesman selling T-bone steaks, it's probably not going to go that well,
Your turn. You have a question?
I forgot.
Okay.
So, out there again. So again, I know everyone's got questions. Hold to the end so we can get through to everybody. Is how do you determine your pillar?
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. I was so entranced.
It's okay.
Listening to you talk.
He just this guy's trick pulls you right on the track.
Okay. So I like to I'm a perfectionist, if I'm being honest, and I'm more hard on myself than anyone else in my life could ever try to be. So I really felt like I had to master something before I moved on to something else. So when I started using Facebook to get business, it wasn't so much about getting as many leads as I could. I mean, I'd seen tons of teams, and I know that it's a numbers game. So, for example, you can get 100 leads and get 1 sale out of that. That's great, because you just have to get through that 100 to get that sale. But that's not really the way that I found my comfort zone. I found my comfort zone because as I was getting these contacts, I was building relationships with them. So I never just picked up the phone and called for 2 hours. I wouldn't have been happy and comfortable on the phone. And they would have picked up on that and it wouldn't have worked. What I did was get on the phone, or what I did was reach out to them and figure out who they were as people and start relating to them. And so I started building relationships to the point where now I don't have to run ads all the time because I know I'm going to get business anyway. Because when I started, so I moved here in the end of 2015, and I didn't know anybody. My husband's active duty military. I'm a former Marine, so I know how to talk to military. I'm a very direct person. I'm a little rough around the edges to talk to and can be aggressive. So I knew that, and I knew how to relate to those people. So I targeted military, and I could pick up the phone and be like, oh, you were stationed in Hawaii, that's awesome. I was there for 3 years on a 6 months on, 6 months off ops tempo overseas. Did you do that? Like, what unit were you with? And I could relate to them. And so that's what I did. That's how I got comfortable doing what I did, and that's why people remember who I am, because there's unique aspects of who I am that make them remember to refer me. And then I nurture, just like some of the great things that Daniel's talking about. So my pillars, the 2 pillars I have are Facebook and social media and sphere of influence. So I built my database based on social media, and then I nurture the fuck out of it. I'm sorry. Just nurture the fuck out of it.
I can relate to that.
Like, you build it and then you nurture it, and that's really how you keep it going. And that's also one thing when I came to this business I always wanted was consistency. I didn't want to be a roller coaster agent, and I think that's the biggest struggle for all of us, at least in the beginning, is for it to not be up and down and up and down. And I was able to build that because I got out there consistently and nurtured the people that were coming to me. And I mean, if I didn't like them, just like what Daniel said, I don't keep them on my list because I know I'm not going to want to pick up the phone and call them, and that could throw off my whole day knowing that person's on my list. So I'm really strict about who I nurture and talk to. I don't like talking to people.
Good.
That's
Do you have a question?
Okay.
I may have forgotten.
I got thrown off for me by Brian. So
Majestic
okay, so my pillar business, I started with a database, but I wanted to implement some, for example, farming. I tried to do farming 3 different times in 3 different areas, and I quit for one reason or another, either because I don't like the way it fit in my P&L, or I wanted to choose a different area, and I have regretted all 3 times, so eventually I'll get to farming one of these days. I've implemented open houses. I guess I did it wrong. But so my 4 is and I think if you were to run your numbers, knowing your numbers is super important. Even if you've only done 3 deals, in the last 12 months, you've done 6 deals in the last 3 years, whatever it is, know your numbers. Where did those 6 deals come from? Where does the last 10 deals that you've done, where did they come from? And you'd be surprised that you're trying to make a pillar out of, for example, Zillow, or you're trying to make this huge pillar in your business, and you've been trying it for years, but out of the 10 deals, 9 of them came from referrals from your database. Hello, that should be your pillar. That's where you should focus on. You should systematize that in a way, and it's almost hard. Russell Shaw was in a panel. I was not in the panel. I was in a mastermind with Russell Shaw, and he kind of just really kind of embarrassed me, but in a nice way. He said, your business is like a fluke. You can't just run your business on a fluke. I said, what do you mean? You just run to the grocery store, you run into somebody you know, it's like, oh, I know somebody wants to buy. You can't go to enough grocery stores to get enough business to predict what your business is going to look like 3 months from now. You need to systematize it to where if you do X amount of activities, you'll get X amount of deals or X amount of leads, that leads to X amount of closings. I don't know how to do that with my database, except for Lizzie, also one of my great mentors, kind of helped me come up with a system. And one of the systems that I use is the Greatness Tracker. And another thing that I use in my trying to systematize the database is the birthday program, cupcakes, the raffles, the pop buys. And client events are by far the most, I think, the funnest part of my whole business. Everything that we do, the client events are so much fun, and everybody has a blast, and everybody just, shows up to them, and we have a good time, and everybody remembers them forever. But anyways, the 4 pillars of my business has always been, it started off with database, it still is. I've come up with systems now to date that have helped me make that stronger. And then the next 3, I have 4 that are really strong. It's Facebook is a distant second, and then Zillow's 3rd, and site calls are 4th. Sign calls from signs. Somebody saw my sign. Sign calls.
What CRM system do you use?
CRM system? Sorry.
You're good. Go.
So I use Big Purple Dot. Is for my top clients database. I use Big Purple Dot. It's really inexpensive, $20 a month. And then I use Commissions Inc. for any prospecting or any new leads that come in. Nurturing, I use Commissions Inc.
How to pick your pillars?
Yeah.
How to pick your pillars?
How do you pick your pillar? Is whether you're new or existing, the best way to determine your pillar.
So once again, I think you should do something that you like. If you don't like it, if you absolutely hate it, you're probably not going to consistently do it. There's going to be a certain element of fear, I think, the first time you start any of these things, whether it's an open house, starting a farm, door knocking, calling phones. You're going to have some nerves to start out. But if you can't get over those nerves after a couple weeks, you're probably not going to continue. So pick something you like. For me, it was really easy. I just looked at someone, found someone whose business I liked, and I said, I'm going to implement it just like they did. Everyone up here is willing to share what we do. Most of the agents out there that have perfected their craft are more than willing to show you exactly how they do things. Find someone's business who you like and go copy it. Go take them to coffee. Go find out what they're doing to get where they're at. And if you want a business like that, just do what they do. To me, it was as simple as that. Then in terms of number of pillars, I think everyone should have several pillars that they do. For myself, I think everyone should start with your sphere of influence, your past clients. That should be something that you always focus on to a certain extent. So that's how I started my business, and it's still a big part of that. To ramp up my business, kind of like Daniel said, I felt that was pretty unpredictable. There'd be times where I'd have 4 or 5 friends, family member call me in a week, and then there'd be months that no one would call me. And it all averaged out all right, but there were a lot of highs and lows. And so the way that I eliminated that was to get on the phone and to hire people to get on the phone for me, and then eventually agents that are jumping on my team are getting on the phones, and we can predict our business very easily now in terms of what my revenue is going to be in 3 months from now or 4 months from now, and I can predict it that way. So our pillars are sphere of influence, the phones. We also do open houses. I'm also like Daniel. I've probably done the farm thing 2 or 3 times, and I've given up for various reasons. And it wasn't even that it wasn't profitable. Just for various reasons, I stopped. I got unfocused. And I think it's another thing that I'll touch on is don't try to be the master of everything. There's a million things out there that work, and if you try to perfect them all, you'll probably end up being not very good at any of them. Pick 3 or 4, 2 or 3, and master those ones. And then you can always, as the markets change and technology changes, you can test a new one every now and again. But just have a couple forwards.
Thank you.
Here's what I would say when you're trying to pick these pillars. Where I got to is I've been in the business 20 years. I'm a 3rd generation real estate professional. And when we get into this business, we have all been sold on the fact that we need to be selling every day. And when you stop selling and start helping, it will change your business completely. And it's not about the commission dollar, it's about the help that you're giving people, because that's really what this business is about. My dad told me we're the people business, and houses are just the byproduct of what we do for people. And when you look at this panel, you realize that everybody from Brian to Neil, except for Kenny, all this stuff is free. And once you start making some money, you can do what Kenny does. I know. But here's the thing. Everything in this panel is free. And if you take the free stuff and you go out and you stop selling and you start helping, It will change your business. When you're at an open house, how can you add value? We've all talked about adding value. You're trying to help people. Daniel's trying to help people with his sphere, adding value to them. We're trying to add value to people's life. It's the same thing that I do. Once I stopped trying to sell to investors and started helping them in planning their course, it changed things. It changed what the referrals looked like. It changed how things were done. So, pick what you enjoy. If you like going out and sitting in open houses and meeting people and talking to people, great. Once you're sick of doing that, hire somebody to do it. That's the way I run my business. I don't run a team, I run a business. We've got operating officers and CFOs and all this other nonsense, and everybody's salaried. But here's the cool thing about it. I started firing myself from the things I didn't want to do anymore. I've done all this stuff. I didn't do the door knocking. I could never do it. So my hat's off to you. But he found something that he loved. He uses an Excel spreadsheet. We've all been sold on how many CRMs and high-level stuff that we need all this technology and all this BS. And the reality is, it all comes down to people. Go make connections with people. Go help people accomplish what they want to do and how they want to get there. And I guarantee you'll be super successful at no matter what pillar you choose.
Great advice, thank you. You gotta get it back.
Yeah, no, that's, well,
Glad I didn't call you.
yeah. I guess, I mean, 135 million in sales last year, and it's expensive to farm, so I guess you can look at it however you want. It's an investment over time, and the results, the benefit of it, I would say, is that the consistency now in our business, we have a predictable, repeatable business year over year. We're on our 8th year in a row of averaging a home sold every day. The last 3, it's been about every 14 hours we sell a house. And so I say that humbly, not to be arrogant or any way, because I was the FedEx guy. Have an education, and from that respect, it's just relentless, hard work, consistency. It's that ugly 4-letter word. The other one, work, W-O-R-K, and but over time, it has this business that now creates repeatable, predictable, and I think part of it is that we get into this business, well, for a lot of us, because we wanted our own schedule and we like people, and in about a week, we realized neither of those have them. So, but there's a book, and I got to have lunch with him about 2 months ago, but I'd already read it, called The E-Myth, and E-Myth Revisited, and really what it is we come in as an independent contractor. We work in these companies that have tools that most of us think those aren't for me, or whatever the case may be, instead of plugging in and saying, well, I need to go from being an individual to becoming a business owner. And once you become a business owner, you start thinking different. You start thinking in reinvestment, systems, models. If you can leave anything here today, it's you got to have systems and models. Like our newsletter goes out the 1st of every month, which means by the 2nd week of every month, content has to be in, has to be approved and ready to go by the 3rd week to the printer, so it comes out on the 1st of every month. And that has not been missed since May of 2001 when we started. That's just a system. And you look up, and I'm now in my 19th year, which is crazy to say, but now we have this business that, over the last 2 years, I've really not been as involved in, meaning that I'm succeeding through others. We had our awards thing this morning, and every one of my agents, almost every one of them was 10 million or more in sales last year, all the way up to 26 million was their contribution. And so we're proud that we've taken and helped people achieve things in life. And once your vision switches from, if I can help people get and hit their goal, then ultimately I hit my goal. So it becomes, well, then I've got to hold them accountable. I've got to hire a coach, and I've got to do some things to kick my ass, right? It's like going to the gym, and you can go in and you can test this machine, and then that machine, and then that machine, and then blame the gym, or there's a better deal, or whatever you want. But if you go with the trainer who says, no, you need 3 more of those, now you need to do this, do the results follow? Most of us come in here, and this is a really bad example today, but we don't dress professional, so I apologize. I usually pick on that, I usually have my embroidered shirt and I'm ready to go. I've been in Austin the last couple of days, I got home late last night, and we had awards this morning. Anyway, it's just been a whirlwind the last few days. And I leave for Mexico for a week Sunday, so it's just like trying to squeeze a lot in. So when I
Well, let it slide. Let it slide.
But
You did 135 million last year.
well, well, the idea is, and I started using that excuse, to be honest, because I go, well, then I can't go to an appointment if I look like this. Like I wouldn't want anyone to do that. But point is that when you read EMIP and you start going, well, I need a system and a model. So when I come in, what time do I start every day? What time do I get out of bed every day? I actually read the book on the plane last night, Make Your Bed, the Navy SEAL. They did the University of Texas commencement speech, and it just starts with making your bed every day. Like you accomplish that thing and you do it consistently. For those who know John Wooden, I mean, his first practice in basketball was, these are grown men on how to put their socks and shoes on, how to tie them, because your feet are one of your most important things as far as not getting blisters and blah, blah. So it's all systems and models. And so everything you've heard up here, the interesting thing for me is I look at it and I go, yep, every one of these things is 100 times easier now in the geographic farm. Every one of them. Open house, they know us, they just come say hi sometimes. Investing, we create a lot of those because we put in our newsletter. Want a cash offer? We'll take that too. Calling, we started doing some circle prospecting. Hey, the Johnsons asked us to sell their home. We wanted to give you a quick call, let you know we'll be there this weekend from 11 to 3, and they know our name, so the caller ID or whatever, it's no longer it's a very warm call. You get into, well, Sphere and database, and that's our biggest screw up, probably all of us, if we're being honest, that what we do with that, we'll spend so much time chasing people who don't like us or care about us or never use us, versus nurturing the ones that are in there that would actually like us and do things if we actually did something for them after we got a commission, that by the way, we probably weren't even at the signing, and yet there they were, and yet we expect them to refer us, so that's a requirement. Then you go down the line, I mean, Facebook, social media, is it easy to post in the 85209.com social media group, the Kenny Klaus team, and keep back and forth? Because keep in mind, these things just keep building. There's residual value. You go sell a home in my neighborhood, that's great. I'm going to probably list it someday. That's my mindset, because they're going to get something from me every single month. Not to mention if they go to the grocery store, they see my moving truck, or they go to the high school, or whatever they do, they're going to see us giving value, where you may send them a Christmas card, maybe. And so the point being that every one of these things, so social becomes easier, because now they start to develop your brand, they see your brand. Door knocking, we've just started doing this. Travis is 28 now. He's running 85208.com for us. He has no fear, he doesn't know any better. He doesn't have that limiting belief that I've watched people's faces when you talk door knocking, they immediately go, oh, that's not for me. Yet, how many doors have you knocked? When you look in the mirror, instead of out the window, look in the mirror, have you knocked any doors? Or are you just building excuses already before you've even tried? He goes out and does it, so we started doing it, we say with value. So we have Klaus Team Cares, our charity. Through our commissions, our team last year, we donated about 27,000 back. We give it away locally through grants and through things. Girl just lost her, I get emotional, so I apologize. Girl just lost her mom in our community. We were able to take care of cap and gown, senior portraits, all the things, boom, just like that. That's when it goes full circle, and you're able to give back to the same community that's given back to you. And this is, I get excited, it changes your whole, it doesn't become work anymore, it becomes an opportunity to serve. And so I hear these things and I go, you know what, you just keep taking steps, you keep persevering. There's going to be good and bad days, but you just keep persevering, and then everything gets easier. So Travis had this idea that, you know, he's trying to build this farm, and so we got a listing in it, and he's like, we have these grocery bags that have Klaus Team Cares, and then has our logo. We just staple something to it. He's like, I'm just going to go door knock with those, and then let everyone know I'm going to be down at this house from 11 to 3 on Saturday or Sunday. And holy cow, that's what we do all the time now. Because now you're door knocking with it's for a canned food drive. And we did the water hydration too, but you just knock, and now if they're not home, you hang the bag and it says, I'm going to be there. Well, we realize with open houses when you're farming, I'm not worried about the buyer side. I want to meet 8 or 10 more sellers that drop off a bag that get to know who I am and put the face with the newsletter and go, oh, that's them, they're real people. And that's been a lot of fun, because my guys and gals, and Suzanne's in her mid to, I don't want to date her, but in her 60s, let's just say, she goes out and door knocks now and never done it because she doesn't feel like greedy salesman, dirty realtor type thing. She's I'm giving value, and they'll come drop them off, and if not, they call us and we go take it to the office. So you can always find purpose with what you're doing. So door knocking doesn't do bad calling, like he said, hey, the Johnsons asked us to sell their house. We just wanted to let you know if you know anyone looking to move to the area. That doesn't feel salesy. So it's all preparing it and then putting a model and a system around it so that you can continue to repeat that. Because every one of these things you can do individually and have wild success like you've seen them. You can also geographically draw a fence around an area and then just start doing these things around it. And you said expensive, so that's why I have to kind of laugh because I get that a lot. It can be to start, but quite honestly, could you not print a flyer, even with a little lender ad, and go door knock that and put it on people's houses?
Yeah, to clear that up, the point is that all this stuff is free and you want to start, I know, but when you want to start something, don't let the expensive stuff keep you from doing it. If you want to farm something, you have all these free ways you can start your community until you can find that budget to work its way out. Because now, like you said, you have a business that runs on its own. Well, now you have the budget because you did the free stuff first, where you started smaller, but don't let the big stuff keep you from.
Yeah, don't focus on where results are today, but that's the vision. Like, I want to go there. Now, what's the first step? Commit to it, and commit to it for 12 months or more, and then just be relentless. Like, when people tell you you're stupid, why are you doing this? I had a neighbor, he's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm going to this real estate school thing because I was working at FedEx all day. And he's like, oh, why don't you just sell cars? And the interesting thing is, now you fast forward, and now his wife has a real estate license, which is awesome. Just has a license, but it's just interesting, that the people who, say things, again, you can't always judge, the outside. You just have to look at, again, I always try to tell, spend more time looking in the mirror than out the window. Like, it starts with you. If you just commit to something, Will Smith has a great 9-minute video on it. He just talks about being relentless and just, two things are going to happen if we get on a treadmill. He's like, one of two things. Either you're getting off or I'm dying. It's that simple. Like, that's just his work ethic. He's like, there is no plan B because it just distracts from plan A. And I think if you do something with purpose and you have value, you don't need a plan B because over time, keep in mind, people aren't going to you don't react the first time somebody sends you something. Why do you expect them to? You show up again, you show up again. There's Pepsi, Coke, all those brands just go, oh, they know who we are now. We can shut up all that expensive advertising. No, they have to stay top of mind. We know statistically it's about 68%, those arguable numbers, only interview one real estate professional and 17% interview two. So you're talking at 85 percentile, 87 percentile, only talk to one or two. So how do you stay top of mind and be in front of them when we know most people are not following a database? So I think, Gary wrote a great book called The One Thing. When I read it, I went, that's what it was. Farming was my one thing. I just didn't realize it at the time, but it created all these other opportunities. And so I think every one of these things can be done within it. Can be some startup. Yes, there's print, there's organization, there's things that can be tough, but you can do it. There's people that'll help you do it. And then just start door knocking if you have to, then do the open house, and then all of a sudden you get a listing, and then you leverage that, and you just start growing. And do all the other stuff while you're building something. I think that's the key. So,
Awesome.
I didn't have much to say.
No.
Oh, okay. What was the question again? So this is kind of a thing. We all forget what the question is.
As you start your business or you're in real estate, is determining the one thing that makes you determine your pillar. How do you make sure, or how do you determine your pillar for you?
Got it.
It's not for you, but for the agent.
All right. Well, first of all, we're calling this pillar of what? What is this called? Our thing, pillar of success.
Yeah, pillar of success.
Okay. I would call it pillar of disaster at first. Okay. Because you got to make mistakes, right? You guys got to get out there, make mistakes. I'll keep it short. You got to make mistakes, but you got to find that thing that resonates with you, right? Because you just want to make the connection with people. And I think everybody on this panel has kind of said the same thing. It's all about making a connection, right? Getting that feel for the person and wanting to seriously help people. The real estate is the vehicle, right? But what you're really doing is you're changing lives, right? And we've all done it. You get involved in all kinds of things about their life that has nothing to do with the real estate. So just go out there, find that pillar that resonates with you, and make mistakes, right? Don't be afraid.
Kudos. All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. Every single one of you up here, it was a huge panel, and the time you guys took to do this today, and of course I want to take more time to go through every one of these and ask more questions. It's tough with everybody. Everyone's in business up here is so impressive. So again, thank you guys. Round of applause, everybody. This is the top of our business right here in our industry. So I do want to open up for questions. We've got about 10 more minutes. So let's open up for questions. Who's first?
I want to ask you a question.
Who?
Over to the open house and to the investing. At the open house, how many do you set yourself a week to do? Do you just do weekend or do you do?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do just strictly Saturday and Sunday every week?
How many weeks? And we got, sorry guys, we got to keep them swift and.
No, I'll keep it quick. Okay, do open houses every Saturday and Sunday for the first 5 years. You'll never have to do them after that.
What time do you find?
1 to 4.
What times on Saturdays do you find?
1 to 4.
1 to 4. Either-
Saturday and Sunday, that's right. Sundays are usually better though.
And then for the investing property, I used to look negatively on some of the listings I got. It's like, why am I going and getting all the crap listings? I said, why is everybody calling me? And then I thought, well, there's investors out there, I'll boost them out there and see what I can get from them. So, but I never thought about buying them myself and looking. But somehow I'm a magnet to them. So how can I turn this around? If they're calling me to list their homes and wanting in, and I never have.
That was the same reason that I reached out to you on Facebook the other day, is that there's a different way for what you're doing to create more income. And, I will definitely meet with you and show you what that looks like.
I must be a magnet to them. They seem to call me.
That's fine. You should take advantage of that magnet because you're going to be the solution for those people rather than looking at all of these things that they have to do, or, oh my gosh, I don't want to put this on the market. It's simply providing something very easy for them to go through, and it makes it very easy for you. And you don't have to be the flipper. That's what they talked about wholesaling, but you can also have, I guarantee you, the uglier the listing, there's a few of us on this panel that you can make 1, 2, or 3 phone calls, and the house can be gone tomorrow. You don't have to put a sign in the yard, you don't have to do anything and make money and walk away until you have the money or the foresight to do it. And trust me, there's a lot that goes into it. We renovated 170 homes last year, and there's a lot of process to that.
And I'd like an opportunity when I have these, and I do sell them on YouTube, kind of sit in the process of what you do.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
I can see what you guys are doing.
Absolutely.
Other questions? Go ahead, sir. For who?
Question for open house, Neil.
Open house, yes.
Open house, yes sir.
Yeah, so in many open houses, many people come and talk to you for 5-10 minutes, they connect really well. When it's time to give their email address, let alone the phone number, they are not open to give the email.
Got it.
How do you overcome that?
So easy. His question was this. This is a really easy one, okay? Make a sign that says, please sign in and take a snack. Whatever that snack is. When they walk in the door, the first thing you do is you go, hi, how you doing? And you point to the sign. And you say, do you mind signing in real quick? 9 times out of 10, if you guys don't have the sign, you're wasting your time. If you got the sign, they're gonna go, and 9 times out of 10, they're gonna fill that stuff out. Now they're gonna fill it out so you can't read it. So when they go and they start looking around the house, then you gotta pick that sheet up again, and then you gotta go over and go, I'm having a trouble reading, can you, and get the right one. The sign works like a charm.
Love it. Awesome.
Snack is required.
Huh?
Snack is required.
Snack is required. Oh, and snacks? Make sure you get snacks that, like go to Costco and get those pre-wrapped cookies, stuff like that, just different things. Because people don't like stuff that's out that other people might touch. And besides, you can leave it in the trunk of your car and it'll be fine for like 6 months, right?
Carl, you had a question? No?
I did.
Done? Forgot?
My question is, in one of my challenges is focus, and I have a tendency to jump around too much instead of staying on point. And so when I heard the question about, I'm doing whatever that pillar is, and for example on Facebook, the question in my mind was, how many hours on average per day or per week are you spending on that pillar?
So one thing that I think, and earlier you asked a slightly different question as well, and I want to address it too because it's relevant to this one, is what we all have in common. Well, I can't speak for these guys. They've all done this longer than me and have had way more success
Aren't you a
than me.
Marine? Aren't you always a Marine?
Oh, yeah, that's why it's former. So like formally, but you always are. Do or die. So what I think what we all have in common, and I know that Steve and Kenny both touched on it, is systems, and something that Daniel said is numbers. So whether you have an Excel sheet or Big Purple Dot, Line Desk, there's 100 methods, but knowing your numbers is crucial. You have to know, and luckily I didn't have to learn that the hard way simply because I'm a control freak. I won't try to paint it any other way. I have to know everything I'm doing, and I have to know the formula. So everything I do, I have a formula for it. I know that if I know for a fact that if I am in front of 10 people in a week, then that's going to result in at least 2 closings for me. So knowing your numbers is crucial, right? So going into that and knowing your numbers, I don't have to track how much time I spend on Facebook anymore because I built that pillar and now it's organic. So now all I have to do is make sure I'm active. So I don't measure it by hours, I measure it by posts. So I do at least 1 post a day on my personal page, and I call it the Big 5. So if you go on my personal page, anyone here can scroll it, there are only 5 things I ever talk about on that page. For me, it's all about me and who I am, but let's be honest, we all struggle with focus. We can't focus on more than 5 things at a time, right? So mine, it's my family, my work. I'm a nerd, I like Star Wars and Harry Potter and shit like that, so it's on there. I am in love with mac and cheese, and I'm a picky eater, and people remember that. I've gotten sales on mac and cheese, you guys, right? And then the last one is I like to joke around and connect with my audience, so I usually just do something funny. So it has to be 5 posts a week on my personal page. My business page, I found that if I post 2 to 3 times a week, again, I'm a control freak, so I go by system. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, next week it's Tuesday, Thursday. Then I go by posts. Is basically the sum of your question, not by hours. With Facebook and social media, you need to go by posts and you need to go by ads. So you can run 1 ad continuously, which is usually where you're going to break the most ROI, because people are going to see you continuously with that ad. You don't want to be in front of them too much. They'll think you're an annoying salesperson.
I just want
Johnny
to
Walker.
say thank you for your service.
Thanks, babe.
Any questions?
You know, the Facebook and the posting, though, I think the one thing that I heard a couple weeks ago was make sure that you're consciously aware of what you're posting, that you are making an impact and a positive impact on your audience. Nobody cares about your food. Nobody cares about the rant at the grocery store of the idiot in front of you. You just look childish when you do these things. So Jordan Zimmerman said, be impactful and be intentional in every post that you're making, because there's a consequence, negative or positive, for every post that you make. So always look to be impacting somebody else's life. It might just be one life you impact with that post, but be solid with it and really look to, it's been hard recently with all the different things we're involved in to be very intentional with what we're posting. So it's almost scheduling it weeks in advance, Even though there was stuff we did this week, it's actually being looked at, copywritten, and posted next week. It's not something that I'm sitting here from the table trying to post, because I want it to be as impactful as I can for the people that it's in front of.
Okay.
Julie's coming to the last one.
Oh gosh,
I don't know how else to cut it off.
Okay, so really quick, that is 100% right, intentional, and that's what I meant by the 5 things, is be super intentional about what you're posting, and it all needs to be centered on a theme. And that theme, for me, is who I am, and also adding value, what you're doing for the community. So my 5th thing, I kind of struggled on that, it's actually volunteer work. So I'm actually super involved in the base and the military community, which I get a lot of leads from that, but it's not about that, it's truly about giving back. But being intentional in anything you do in your business is, I think, really important. Now I feel like Steve should say something else.
We're done. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.